I said, so I just finished. I'm not gonna say I just finished. I think I just finished my rough draft of my manuscript.
Oh yeah, man, that's great.
And it centers around what we're just talking about,
Right?
the weaponization of trauma, and
So
how
important.
they deliberately induce dissociative states in order to program the population. You know what I mean? And
It's so
on
important.
the surface of it, what I'm saying sounds like conspiracy theory, right? On the surface of it,
But look at the reality.
but there's the science to back it.
Yeah,
Even orthodox psychology fully acknowledges the process and the science of dissociation,
right.
right?
Oh yeah.
So they acknowledge that this is what happens. Now, of course, orthodox psychology doesn't acknowledge that it's being deliberately designed
Yeah,
on a mass scale.
Yeah, sure.
But they acknowledge that this is what happens.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's important that if the average person understood what dissociation is,
Right.
right? It's actually a natural state.
Yeah, it's like a
And
defense
well,
mechanism.
it's like,
right?
well, yeah, that's part of that too. But even before that, even outside, so you know when you're zoned, people say, "Man, I zoned out."
Yeah.
When you're zoned out, you're in a dissociative state.
Right. Yep.
When you're sleeping, you're in a dissociative state.
Yeah, it was natural.
Right. It's a natural thing that it's a natural tool. It's actually a technique. It's a tool that we have.
Right.
But it's been used against us.
Manipulated.
And then we don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
So the powers that be use it against us. Right?
Yeah.
And then because it was originally it was used in those secret societies.
Yeah.
In those initiation rites.
Right, yeah.
They would induce dissociative states. That's why they would put people in pits with snakes. If
Yeah.
that was your fear.
Right.
They put you in a pit with snakes, right? To just fracture your consciousness as much as possible.
Right.
But then you'd come out on the other side of that more whole because you'd be guided through that process.
Right.
Whereas here, your consciousness is fractured, right? And then we're just programmed to believe a bunch of nonsense and to eat a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
but the reason I put the book together is because I really believe that if people understood what this is,
Yeah.
then they'd be able to diagnose it themselves.
That's
They'd
great.
be able to see the news and be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I know what this is.
Yeah, they're doing
This
this.
is trauma.
Yeah.
This is trauma. You trying to, and then they would that right there is the best defense.
It is. Against
that trauma-
you're absolutely
that
right. Just
trauma,
Have just
weapon.
have a basic understanding
Right.
of that, and you see,
Right.
oh, it doesn't get me here. You know,
Right,
it
I know
doesn't-
because I know what you're trying to
I
do.
know what you're trying to do. Once it is,
Right.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Most
It's
people
so
have no
central.
idea what dissociative identity disorder is,
Right.
and the people who do only really come at it from a clinical orthodox.
Right. Not political.
Yeah,
Or
right.
not a geopolitical.
Right, it's completely
perspective.
sanitized.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
they only think of it in like rare cases of like rape or
Right.
you know
They don't
war.
That's what all the term psychological warfare, right? This
Right.
is like basically it's a,
And this is what this
it's a
is,
weapon
yeah.
of psychological warfare.
Right, and then and there's a chapter in there where it talks about how they use like in the digital age,
Yeah.
how like TikTok,
Yeah.
the way it's functioning, the way it's designed to put you in a dissociative state.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because anyone who's ever been on TikTok will tell you that they lose time.
Yeah, this time. It's
Right?
time.
Hours. They do I don't know what happened.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's a dissociative state.
Well,
So now
the
what?
television started it too. I mean,
Right.
If you
Well,
take-
yeah, no
put your
doubt.
mind
Yeah,
in an alpha
no doubt.
state,
Radio,
it's
right.
suggestible.
I
More
mean-
suggestible then.
I would go back as far as to say,
Yeah.
this is where this is where like it was part of secret science and secret societies. The first part of that would be the ancient storytellers.
Yeah.
You sit around the fire,
Right.
Right,
Oh
they have the
yeah.
dancing.
They're looking into a fire, put you to
they do
dissociative
the dancing,
state.
they do the drums, and then
Yeah.
he tells a story that
Right.
puts you in a dissociative state. But
Yeah.
that story was centered around some type of morality
Yeah, it was
or
more-
cosmic
it was
connection.
real-
Yeah, it wasn't to buy
It was
some
like,
fucking
okay.
cheeseburgers
Yeah.
and shit.
They're
You
not
know.
questioning them.
They once they fractured, once they fracture the consciousness, and then they tell a new story.
Right. This is the story. Yeah.
Right, this becomes a new story.
Exactly. That's exactly
Right,
what it is.
the birth of Jesus is no longer the winter solstice. It's actually a true story.
Yeah.
People are like, oh no, it's really happening. Whoa, no, you have to be in a dissociative state to believe this.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
As a grown person,
Yeah.
As a
When
child,
they plan it as a child, though, it is planted as a child, and it is,
no doubt.
and there is some. Well, there's coercive, at least subtly coercive,
Yeah.
that lingering idea of hell. If you don't
Well, no
believe,
doubt. No doubt. That's, yeah.
I mean, that's pretty traumatizing
No doubt.
for a 4-year-old to start to comprehend. You mean what?
I'm going to
Eternally-
burn
forever
for all eternity?
Forever? I'll never.
What?
All right, I accept Jesus.
And guys always watching me? Like, even when I'm running my room?
Yeah, I know. He's watching.
I can't even touch my Peter. Like, oh my God.
It does get, you know.
It could make you schizophrenic.
All of it, yeah, all for a kid. I mean, that's where they plan it when it's really young.
No doubt,
anyway.
right.
So I think, all of the instituted stories are, to me, questionable in their motives. No